ಅರಿತವರೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವರು ನಗುವರುಳಿದವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಮಹಾತ್ಮನೆ ಕುರುಡರೇ ಹರುವಲ್ಲರು ಗಣಿಸದವರನ್ನು ಹೋಗು ಮುಕ್ತನೆ ನೀನು ಊರೆಂದೂರಿಗೆ ಸೊಗಮ ಬಯಸದೆ ಅಳಲಿಗಳು ಕಲೆ ಕತ್ತಲಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಚಾರಿಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಬೆಳಕನ್ನು ನೀಡಲೇ ಸಂಸಾರ ಮಾರಿನ ದೂರಲೇ ಇಂತು ದಿನ ದಿನ ಕರ್ಮ ಶಕ್ತಿಯು ಮುಗಿಬವರೆಗೂ ಸಾಗಲೇ ನಾನು ನೀನು ಕಡಲಿದು ಆತ್ಮದೊಡಗಿದು ಗಡೆಯೊಳು ಹೋಗಲೇ ಏಳು ಮೇಲೆ ಏಳು ಸಾಧುವೆ ಹಾಡು ತ್ಯಾಗಿಯ ಹಾಡನು ಹಾಡಿ ನಿನ್ನೆಚ್ಚರಿಸು ಮಲಗಿನ ನಮ್ಮನೆ ನಾಯಾಡನು ತತ್ವಮಸಿ ಎಂದರಿತು ಹಾಡೆ ತೀರ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿ ತತ್ವಮಸಿ ಎಂದರಿತು ಹಾಡೆ ತೀರ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದಂ
ಭಾರತ ವೀರ ನರೇಂದ್ರಂ
ಭಾರತ ವೀರ ನರೇಂದ್ರಂ
ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ
ಮಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ
ದೀಪ್ತನಯನಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ
ಚೀತ್ತನಯನಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದಂ ದೀಪ್ತನಯನಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದಂ ಭಾರತ ವೀರ ನರೇಂದ್ರಂ ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ ಭಾರತ ವೀರ ನರೇಂದ್ರಂ ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ
ದೀಪ್ತನಯನಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ
ದೀಪ್ತನಯನಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದಂ ದೀಪ್ತನಯನಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದಂ ಭಾರತ ವೀರ ನರೇಂದ್ರಂ ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ ತ್ವಾಂ ವಂದೇ ಸಿಂಹನಿನಾದಂ
ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य
सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे
सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे
अवतारवरिष्ठाय
अवतारवरिष्ठाय
रामकृष्णाय ते नमः
रामकृष्णाय ते नमः
जननीं शारदां देवी
जननीं शारदां देवी
रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं
रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं
पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा
पादपद्मे त्रयो श्रित्वा
प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः
प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः
नमः श्रीयतिराजाय
नमः श्रीयतिराजाय
विवेकानन्दसूरये
विवेकानन्दसूरये
सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय
सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय
स्वामिने तापहारिणे
स्वामिने तापहारिणे
ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ
Namasabhabhyah Sabhapatibhyascha. As a part of the launching of the Varahmihira Center, Advanced Center for Vedic Technology Research and Azadi ke Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, Yoga Yaga Kala Saptaha, we are having the Sabha program for around 45 minutes to 50 minutes. Now I request the Honorable Chief Guest of today's function, Shri Ashok Sutaji from the Happiest Minds, to kindly come onto the stage. And also, I request Dr. Manjunath Sharmaji, the Pro Vice Chancellor and the Director for Anveshana, to be on the stage, along with Dr. D.R. Karthikeyan, former Director General CBI, former Director General National Human Rights Commission, to be on the stage. Sir, Dr. Karthikeyan. Dr. Karthikeyan. I request our Honorable Advisor to Honorable Chancellor, Professor K. Subramaniam Ji, to be on the stage. Please come.
Lives in Delhi.
Namasabhabhya Sabhapatibhyascha. On 13th of this month, on the occasion of the Guru Purnima and the Vyasa Purnima, as per the benign guidance of our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. H.R. Nagendra ji, we launched the Varaha Mihira Advanced Center for Vedic Technology Research. Along with that, as per the kind advice of the Department of Culture, the Ministry of Education, MHRD Government of India, we launched the Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav program, 1 week cultural program in the evening. So, on this occasion, we also have the Sabha program, graced by highly distinguished guests. Today, for this program, we have none other than the IT giant of India and the world, Sri Ashok Sutaji, the Executive Chairman of the Happiest Minds. On behalf of the S-VYASA Yoga Team to University and all of you, I heartily welcome Sri Ashok Sutaji. We have in our midst Dr. D.R. Karthikeyan, the former Director General of the Central Bureau of Investigation, Government of India, former Director General, National Human Rights Commission, Government of India, who has been here since the launching of the Varaha Mihira Center. I welcome him on behalf of our deemed to be university. We have our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. H.R. Nagendra ji, the internationally renowned scientist, the backbone of this university, the founder, to grace and to preside over this function. We also have our Honorable Advisor to Honorable Chancellor and orator par excellence, Professor K. Subramaniam ji, on the stage. We welcome him. We welcome our Pro Vice Chancellor and Director of Anveshana and also the coordinator for the International Relations of S-VYASA Yoga University, Dr. Manjunath Sharma ji. I welcome him. I welcome our deans, Dr. Professor R.C. Panda ji, the former Vice Chancellor of Panini Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya Ujjain and an alumni of Banaras Hindu University. We all have so many people coming across the length and breadth of Karnataka, and the coordinator of our program and the administrative officer, Sri Krishnamurthy, and our Uma Maheshwara, who is the coordinator for the entire cultural program for the 1 week, who also happens to be the oldest student of Guruji, having completed his YSc, MSc, and so on, who has been instrumental in organizing 1 week non-stop cultural program, bhajans in the evening. I welcome him and his entire team, who has come from, along with the Hindustani musicians, Ranapur, Puneet Ranapur, and the young kids and the tiny tots who just recited the glory of Swami Vivekananda. On behalf of S-VYASA Yoga University, I welcome all the teaching and the non-teaching staff and all the residents of the university for this Sabha program. Welcome to each one of you. Now I request our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Manjunath Sharma ji, to give an introduction to the literary IT giant, Dr. Ashok Sutaji.
ಗುಡ್ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಎವ್ರಿವನ್. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಮಕ್ಕಳು ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆಡಿದ್ರು, ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಗುರೂಜಿ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಸ್ಟಿಮ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಫಾಲೋಡ್ ಬೈ ರಿಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸ್ಟಿಮ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ಆದಾಗ ಒಂಚೂರು ರಿಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟಿಮ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಡೀಪರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಂತೆ. ಸೊ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಈ ಹಾಡುಗಳು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಮೈ ಪ್ರಿವಿಲೇಜ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ all that activities and ventures what we are doing at S-VYASA University and in collaboration and supported by Ashok Sutaji. Before talking anything about it, it's my privilege once again to just give a very brief about Ashok ji, who is very well known in the IT industry on one side, philanthropy on the other side, research and service on the third side. So Ashok ji has been one of the renowned IT giants, as our Honorable Registrar mentioned. So he has an engineering degree very early, 1960s, from then the Roorkee University and presently the IIT Roorkee, and followed by an MBA from Philippines. And he has started his career with the Shriram Group of Industries, and later he served as the president of Wipro Infotech from 1984 to 1999. In these 15 years, it feels proud to mention that he has taken the revenue of Wipros to $2 million to $500 million. So that's the kind of what contributions we can look at Ashok ji right from the beginning. Ashok ji later co-founded Mindtree in 1999, which has a revenue above $1 billion. And more than anything, he has created, this name itself says, happiest minds. So very rarely you see IT companies, because everybody complains about IT companies, talking about IT companies, we work for IT companies, but we are too stressed working in IT companies. But there is an objective with which Ashok ji has created this institution, not just creating an opportunity and employment, but also to ensure that the whole process remains as something which takes you to a happiest mind finally. And of course, Ashok ji has been a greatest philanthropist. And all of you might have heard about Samarthanam, one of the renowned institution for the disabled, and he is the founding chief patron of Samarthanam Trust on one side, and he has also supported many individuals as well as institutions who are working in similar area. Recently, in 2021, Ashok ji, along with, we have the privilege of having our own, the co-founder of another organization, which Ashok ji has established, called SCAN, Scientific Knowledge on Aging and Neurological Ailments or Disorders, SCAN in short. And we have the co-founder, the managing trustee of Ashirvadam Trust on one side, as well as vice chairman of Happiest Health, but also more related to us, the SCAN Research Foundation. Mr. Davies, can I request you to, yeah. So we have the privilege of having Mr. Davies. So he is too humble. We have requested him to join us on stage. Then he said, it's my privilege to be participating rather than coming over to the dais. But it's our privilege. Let me say a few words about the SCAN. SCAN is an organization, once again, first of its kind, a public trust established by both these individuals, which is actually aiming at developing scientific evidence, and also more so developing that evidence which can be translated for public use. So this scientific knowledge on aging and neurological disorder trust aims at doing scientific research on these two major areas. Anybody thinks that we will never age here? So each one of us have to become old one fine day, right? So here are the people who have envisioned this to say that everyone's aging process has to become a successful one. And at the same time, we have to go through certain aspects of aging, But at the same time, how can we make it as a successful one? How can we prevent certain issues related to aging? And mostly we connect aging with neurological disorders. Aging related neurodegenerative conditions are the ones which trouble many people. One side, aging related neurodegeneration, on the other side, several other neurological disorders which are not bound by age. Today, the biggest problem is stroke. Earlier, it used to be somebody with around 50, 60-year-old ending up with stroke and hemiparesis or anything. But today, it has become most common without any age as a barrier or age as a kind of a limit. So the whole vision is, number one, to scientifically understand these conditions with a holistic perspective. Number two, to do research, bringing in various other dimensions of, number one, managing, number two, rehabilitating. So with these objectives, SCAN has come up with various concepts and ideas with which they are bringing multiple institutions together to do research. So I have the privilege of heading two such consortium research studies which SCAN has created, through which on one we are looking at how we can actually reverse diabetes. Reverse diabetes is probably a wrong phrase to say, because everybody says that as long as I am maintaining or managing my lifestyle, my diabetes disappears. But the day I stop walking, I stop doing yoga, I start eating wrongly, and I develop wrong habits, then my diabetes comes back. So how do I manage it? So one of the projects are really looking at this most important condition, which is going to become the global burden for non-communicable diseases. And as you know, China is the leader in many things, including diabetes. And Guruji always says that we are actually competing with China to become the diabetic capital of the world. So having said that, we need research. We need to bring in holistic approaches for the management of diabetes, which is not just one condition. It is actually a conditional, multifactorial problem which requires a holistic approach in treatment as well as rehabilitation. So this is one major condition which Ashokji said SCAN should be working on, and we have taken it up as part of this consortium project, and S-VYASA is going to lead this. Second project, once again, is on well-being. So when we had a brief discussion with Ashokji, so he said that neurological disorders, aging, we have several projects. Then Ashokji said that all that is fine. We will do all that research. Don't worry about it. But two things. Number one, we want everyone to be well. So well-being should be one focus whereby we can prevent disorders, diseases, or illnesses. So one of the major focus is on well-being. So how do we ensure that individuals remain well without getting into any health problem? So today's major issues, all of you know, whether you eat sweets or not, whether you eat rice or not, your cholesterol is going up. So each one of the individuals have this issue that how do I prevent, how do I keep my cholesterol under control? Dyslipidemia is one of the major problems what people are facing. So metabolic disorders on one side, range of other conditions, including dyslipidemia, all of them are making, we are fine. Okay, we don't have any major disease so that we have to be bedridden. We walk around, we do all our activities, but at the same time, we have an inherent problem inside which can lead to multiple complications. So a well-being related project, mainly looking at dyslipidemia and hypercholesterolemia, is the other project which S-VYASA is collaborating with. We also have a neuro rehabilitation center at S-VYASA. So Parkinson's is another major condition which S-VYASA is engaged with, and we have also proposed another project on Parkinson's disease, which is another major area of research as part of SCAN. So it's our privilege to have such an eminent personality here today as the chief guest to guide us through for more such research studies which can actually be translational, not for the sake of academic interest. I also had this, we had multiple conversations with the team of SCAN where everybody carries this message what Ashokji has given. He says that, okay, you do research. How do you bring it to a common man? How is it going to benefit somebody? If you are going to publish it in a very big journal, and if it is not going to be utilized by people, the value of research is actually very less. So having said that, Ashokji's dream is that we need to actually bring it to public use. So we have planned already these projects as our own S-VYASA and other consortium member-driven outreach program. So we are going to have as big as around 2,000 people studied in this whole project. And we want to see that with lifestyle-based intervention, can we completely reverse on one side, diabetes, and second thing, can we sustain it? Initially, everybody wants to do yoga. When you come initially, you will be very active for the first 1 week, 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. After that, gradually the interest goes down. The biggest thing what we have observed in research is adherence. How far can you adopt yoga into your day-to-day life? Okay, so that's where, for the sake of research, when we do it, people do it for 3 months, we show fantastic results. But after that, when they discontinue, then they go back to the same problem what they were facing. So this project aims at ensuring how we can make these modules which you are going to follow without any issue, and adherence is maintained. So these are some of the main questions being asked in some of these projects which are being promoted. I'm very happy to say that 10 crore rupees have been allotted by Ashok Sutaji for one of these research studies, and S-VYASA is privileged research studies, and S-VYASA is privileged been already received 2 crore rupees for the first part of our research study. Already received 2 crore rupees for the first part of our research study. So grateful to Ashokji as well as Mr. Davies. All of them, they have this SCAN as something futuristic in bringing research for global use. So having said that, we always look upon Guruji as somebody who always gives us this vision. Integrative medicine is what Guruji has said we have to look at for future. And the biggest support for this at policy makers level, what we have got is from Karthikeyanji. So Karthikeyanji represents this community in Niti Ayog to several other bodies, and he is the one who fought for this for long, and he actually has been actually educating people on this concept of integrative medicine, because we get excited that we have to bring multiple systems and processes together to get best benefit for a patient. But Karthikeyanji also said that in this excitement, we should not create confusions, because there are too many systems when you're bringing. First, we should have scientific research done on this. Number two, we have to do pilot studies to ensure that there are no side effects or there are no issues because of bringing these things together. And number three, for sure, it should produce good results for the people, which they can carry on with keeping the financial parts within their own limits. For example, biggest problem what we face is how these therapies, when we give it to people, economically viable or not will be the question asked. And these are some of the major things which I have seen several presentations what Karthikeyan ji has made to the governments, not only for the present government, for multiple other governments, to ensure that this is the time where we bring in these concepts together. And for driving all this, we have Subramaniam ji, who always says that spiritual health is the most important thing along with whatever you people are doing. So WHO has added this component of spiritual health along with the physical, mental, and social health, whatever has been described as the definition of health. So this 1 week activity, what we are all witnessing, particularly one of the domain of this activity is spiritual health, and led by our Subramaniam ji, who is conducting a series of lectures on Ramayana. Whenever Subramaniam ji talks, it's not talking about the historical perspectives of any subject, but the connect what he brings into the present day use. And that's where we look at the mental health component of it. That's where we look at the spiritual health component of it and how it can change the physical health component of it. So it's a galaxy of eminent personalities who are all looking at change the physical health component of it. So it's a galaxy of eminent personalities who are all looking at integrative health and integrative medicine research. And S-VYASA is privileged to be part of this. And thanks Ashok ji and Mr. Davies for choosing S-VYASA as a partner in this venture. And we promise you, we put all our hard work and to ensure that whatever we do, it's going to benefit the society and common man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Manjunath ji, for giving an overview of the research which is going to be conducted by Anveshana under your guidance and Guruji's guidance with the generous donation from Ashok Sutaji and his team. Now I call upon our Honorable Founder, Chancellor, the Founder, Vice Chancellor, Dr. H.R. Nagendraji, the internationally renowned scientist, as well as the awardee, the Padma Shri awardee, the fourth highest civilian award conferred by Government of India, to elaborate upon about the new launching of the center, Ahamira Advanced Center for Vedic Technology Research.
My dear brothers and sisters, we are really delighted to have a personality as our Ashok Sutaji to come and bless this initiative that we have taken to bring us the new dimension of Vedic technology into our S-VYASA. All of you know that integrated approach of yoga therapy is the one that we heralded over the last 35 years and brought that into scientific excellence, producing large number of research papers which are getting accepted on various fronts for particularly NCDs, diabetes, hypertension, heart problem, asthma, cancer, and so on. And our Arogyadham, with nearly 450 beds, is bringing these benefits to people at large. And also we have now taken up a wide development of an app by the Reset company in Bombay to see that it spreads to large number of people all over the world. Then we have been discussing as to see that we have to go to the very root cause of these NCDs and other lifestyle challenges that we have. For that, we all know that when we are born, we have hereditary tendencies. Hereditary tendency of becoming a diabetic or a hypertensive or a heart problem person and so on. If both the parents have both diabetes, then the possibility or the probability of getting diabetes is very high. But if only father or mother or a distant relative have got diabetes, then probability is still less. Now, how does this heredity come to us? Is the next question. So, according to Vedas, we have two parts in the Vedas. One is called the Uttar Mimamsa, another is the Pura Mimamsa, which I have been talking. In Uttar Mimamsa, we talk about the science of the Vedas, how this entire universe is having the 5 dimensions called Panchakoshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Koshas. And all these koshas are in continual change. But that which is beyond, which does not change, is our original state called the Kaivalya by Patanjali or Moksha in Vedanta. It's a state of infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite freedom, infinite bliss. And that is the goal of life, to manifest that divinity, as Swami Vivekananda said. And for that, we have the 4 streams of yoga prescribed: Jnana Yoga, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, to work at the level of the intellect, work at the emotions, work at the willpower, and in the action level. If that is the science dimension of Vedas, now we have the application form of that, is the technology of the Vedas contained in Puramimamsa. In Puramimamsa, there is the Upasana Kanda and there is the Karma Kanda, in which we do a lot of our yagnas, havanas, pujas, and vratas, niyamas, everything we do. All these things we are doing in our country and different parts of the world, because it's our heritage, because we have faith in such things. But we have never looked at the scientific exploration as to how these things can be brought forth to the world at large. Just like yoga we brought over the last 35 years, now we have launched this new program of bringing the scientific evaluation and the dimensions related to these Puramimamsa aspect of it, Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda. So if it took 30 years for us to come to this level of scientific validation of our yoga, IAYT for various diseases, and that continues with the wonderful things that he is supporting for complete reversal of diabetes and to deal with Parkinson and then rehabilitation centers and many others. We'll continue doing that thing on one side. But can we also add on the dimensions of the Vedic technology? As rightly said by Professor Manjunath, we have been able to combine the modern medicine with yoga practices. Then we have the Ayurveda, naturopathy, physiotherapy, acupuncture, to bring the integration, solving the challenges associated with them. And that we are continuing. As he rightly said, our Karthikeyanji has been a great supporter, and in the Niti Ayog we have been able to see that the integrative health comes forward, and thanks to our Prime Minister, probably it's going to come in the next few years to operation. But then can we add on this dimension of Vedic technology has been our effort. With that in mind, we launched this new project of Varahamihira Advanced Center for Vedic Technology Research, VMAC VTR in short we call. And we wanted to know whose name we have to give for this project, and rightly we chose Varahamihira as suggested by our Professor Ramchandra Bhatt. As most of you know, Patanjali made 3 great contributions. One is yoga, another is Ayurveda, another is grammar. Yogayana chittasya, padayana vacham, malam sharirasya. Similarly, Varahamihira also made 3 major contributions. One is for the mathematics, second is for the astronomy, and third for the astrology. Phala Jyotisha, Ganita Jyotisha, and Khagola Jyotisha. We want to explore the great secrets he has been able to unravel in his Brihad Jataka and many other things that he has brought out in his wonderful text. There is such ocean of knowledge that's available, which has been brought forth by Varahamihira. For example, Einstein himself started writing out the equations for astrological and astronomical dimensions of the world at large through the tensors and others, which we are trying to understand, and also go further in the field of mathematics one side and see what are the contributions of Varahamihira in this field. Similarly, in the astronomical dimension, there is tremendous growth due to the modern technology that we have. We can track what is happening around the globe through our huge telescopes and others, and see how the things are changing, what are the influences of different planets, different stars and other things, all that we are trying to measure in modern technology. And number of people have started using astrology for prediction of these things. So we have to bring forth the scientific dimensions related to all these things which have been talked about in our Vedic heritage. So what are the challenges? Just as in yoga, we have a large number of people who are doing different types of yoga in the beginning. We wanted to find out which is the best for what. So we had a huge survey throughout the country and then found out what are all the special things that people are talking And finally, we brought out this integrated approach of yoga therapy to work as a whole, looking at man at totality. That is one thing. Then we added on the dimensions of other systems to make it holistic. Similarly, we have to see how various astrologers have been talking about in various dimensions and bring them together to bring a holistic vision of astrology. Because we know that one astrologer will predict something, another astrologer will deny that. Our Subramanian was telling he met number of astrologers, and whatever all these people predicted were not correct, and they had a lot of confusion. So that confusion have to be removed. Therefore, we have to see that this comes up, and it's all governed by our Janma Kundali, that is the horoscope when we are born. So depending on our prarabdha karma and sanchita karma, which we have done, which has been stored in our manomaya kosha, is going to show up as heredity. And therefore, in this heredity, the root cause for heredity is tracked in the sanchita karma, particularly the prarabdha karma. So this prarabdha karma shows up in the position of different planets in our 12 houses in the astrological thing that we have. So people say, okay, because of this thing, you are likely to get diabetes, you are likely to get hypertension, you are likely to become very wealthy, you are likely to lose. And all these predictions can be done in astrology, and they have two parts. Particularly now we are going to concentrate on medical astrology to see how best we can use this particular causes of prarabdha karma and see that. So we have to standardize the modalities that have been brought forth in various dimensions about the aspect that have been talked about. Which are the positions of different grahas and other things for particular disease, what diabetes, what are all the things? They say Jupiter is the main thing. What is the contribution of Jupiter and Rahu and Ketu and others? We have to finalize and then see that we have an integrated dimension. It's not one particular graha which makes it possible, but it could be many complicated. It's a multi-dimensional thing that happens. Then that is a thing to be standardized now by studying it in great depth and do this thing. So we use mathematics in this direction and see that it comes up. Then we have to establish its efficacy. So we take a large number of diabetics throughout the country and get their Janma Kundali and see what has been told is good enough for that thing. And this is how we have systematically planning to go by research. And fortunately, we have a large number of research students and others who will be put forth into this direction to understand. Probably in the next 4, 5, 6, 8 years, we should be able to bring about this scientific evidence for the things that have been talked about. Then the pariharas that they have given. What is to be given for diabetes? So particular homas, havanas, pujas, yagnas, and other things which have been put. That also has to be standardized. An integrated approach has to be brought forth and see the efficacy of that and how we can go on improvising the efficacy of this thing along with our other things that we do. Integrated approach of yoga therapy, integrative health. There will be the Vedic technology contribution to that. It is going to be a total approach of the whole system so that we will be able to move towards better understanding and deeper understanding of the whole universe, creation, and see that this knowledge base will help us to deal with these modern challenges that we are facing today. And that is the contribution of Vedic technology that we are doing. Therefore, we launched this project approved by our Board of Management, and we are going to take up this aspect. And further, this week-long program has been analyzed, and we had various homas in the morning, started with Ganapati, then Yoga Dakshinamurti, then the Lakshmi, and the Navagraha Shanti, and today we have Sudarshan Homa, and all these things one by one, try to understand this dimension, and also we are going to measure this dimension. And in the evening, as Manjurati said, our Subramaniam is trying to bring about the subtleties in the Ramayana, how there are controversies which have to be solved. And our Karthikeyanji also has been contributing a lot for this thing, and week long it has been a great support, a great understanding, a great knowledge, and these things that are happening. And therefore, we are going to end this on the 20th, and this week-long thing will conclude on 20th valedictory function. And we are really happy that you could come and share your thoughts and also sort of give directions or guidelines according to your brilliance, innovative and creative things. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad for coming.
Thank you, Dr. H.R. Nagendraji, affectionately called as Guruji, for elaborately telling about the aims and objectives of our Varahamira Advanced Center for Vedic technology research and also about Yoga Kala Saptaha. Now I call upon Dr. Deepeshwar Singh ji, the uh, Senior Research Fellow of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Associate Professor of the Anveshana, and a fundamental researcher who has contributed significantly for the growth of research, especially in the domains of brain and consciousness and other things, to make a presentation about the research related to these things already elaborated.
Thank you for inviting me for sharing the results of what we have done in our S-VYASA and in the presence of esteemed guest and Honorable Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, Registrar Sir, and Advisor to Chancellor. I'm going to present about a very auspicious Homa which was organized in S-VYASA between 3rd May to 15th May. So it was organized in our S-VYASA Prashanti Kutiram in the nearby the big park with big ground. So in this Somyagya, around 200 people came from Maharashtra who organized this Somyagya. And as you know, our institution is trying to propagate a lot of scientific evidences related to spirituality, related to Homa, chanting, mantras. So we have conducted a study in our S-VYASA with the help of all the our eminent scientists working in Anveshna Research Laboratory and all the departments of Anveshna, all the different divisions of dot division, yeah, all the divisions have participated and all the laboratories have participated to collect different informations at different time points. So if you go for the few of the glimpse of this uh, uh, auspicious yagya, go for the next slide. So we have conducted 3 different studies. First study we have conducted on Somyaji, the priest who came along with the group, and he organized the program. And we have collected autonomic function, electrical activity of the brain, and some other parameters. You go for the second slide. And we have done some studies on the biochemical changes, where we have draw the blood, and we have seen during this intense program, we have observed there was not much changes happened before and after, and even during Homa. This is one of the good finding because during this entire procedure of Homa, there were intense physical pressure. The temperature was very much down, and it was extreme weather was there, and they were having a lot of physical activities during that time. But still, we have observed there was not changes in erythrocyte sedimentation rate, which is one of the neuroinflammatory biomarker. And also we have observed there was not much changes in the lipid profile, and also there was not changes in the blood sugar. It means the yagya effect might be there, which tried to control the adverse effect because of weather, environmental weather, because of physical stress of the body. Go for the next slide. One of the study we have done on these people in our laboratory, Somyaji and his wife both have participated, both came in our laboratory, and we have collected data using MR compatible EEG system. So you can see EEG cap, and we have observed the theta frequency, that we have looked at their EEG bands and looking at the neuronal activity of the brain. And what we observed after drawing, we have observed the theta wave, and the alpha wave was dominant, very much dominant rest of the other wave. And theta and alpha waves are related to the internalized attention. So we have collected this data during resting and during meditation. There was not much change. Why? Because they were already in different several years they are practicing, they're performing such kind of yagya. So they were not having any kind of stress during that time. And we observed they were having internalized attention was very much good compared to normal healthy people. And also we have observed the alpha power, which is representing the relaxed state of mind. So they were relaxed during the entire sessions. Uh, so we have done another study. We compared this data because there is a how we don't know that whether the outcome is good and good for the or good comparator for the control group. So we have had another study on heartfulness meditators, where we have seen the similar kind of outcome compared to the control group. So we compared this outcome of the data, and we found these the Somyaji, the priest, was having a wonderful state of mind without having much problem or much agitative state. Go for the next slide. Similarly, another study we have done on the people who came along with the group 10 performance, and 10 participants. And we have collected their sputum to look at their cortisol levels, saliva cortisol. We have taken their blood samples to look at their neuroinflammatory biomarker, lipid profile, and their blood glucose. And we have observed, go for the next slide. We have observed again the changes were not, there was a huge difference, but not at the significant level when I saw in the overall average. The limitation of this outcome was we have not taken their the medical history. A lot of people were old, they might be having some kind of problem. So we have seen there was some ESR was little bit high, which is one of the neuroinflammatory biomarker, which was increased and decreased, but it was a overall not significant difference. So it was overall good study. Third study we have done on Vedic chanting on children. So these children came along with this group, and we got the privilege to take their data. So we called them up in the laboratory to understand what are the hemodynamic changes in the prefrontal region when they are doing chanting. So we have chosen one of the chanting mantra is called Gayatri mantra. They have chanted around 108 times, not around, exactly 108 times. It took around 8 to 10 minutes. And we have collected data on hemodynamic responses and autonomic functions. Go for the next slide. And this is the results where we have observed the enhanced oxygenation in prefrontal region. Why I have chosen prefrontal? Because prefrontal is associated with higher states of cognition and emotional state. So we have taken those areas and we have seen there was changes in the left, and we compared this data with from the baseline. So baseline we have taken during chanting and after chanting, and we've observed after chanting the effect was it was spread all over the prefrontal region. It was left prefrontal cortex, right prefrontal cortex, ventral region, which are associated with attention, perception, decision making, working memory. So many associative memories are associated with these regions. Go for the next slide. And this is about the autonomic. Obviously, the autonomic changes was little bit aroused because they were doing chanting. The physiological load when we speak or when we do chanting, there are physiological arousal which we observed in this group also. So this is like a brief summary about what we have done in our laboratory during this Somyaga. Is an initiative. After this, we have a long way to go, and you can go for the next slide. And with this, I'm going to. So we have started a control group also, where our faculties, children, they are participating, and they are going to not doing the chanting, but they are going to chant rhymes or poems. That's a control group are going to do, and we are the data collection is in process. We'll come up with a good outcome. So this is the small presentation about the Somyaga results, which is giving a path for this Varahamirha Vedic Technology Research Center, and we can do very big research in this under this domain of research laboratory. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dipeshwar Singh, for giving the the research findings with respect to Mahotsav and also about the Vedic chanting. Now I call upon Shri Ashok Sutaji, the Executive Chairman of the Happiest Minds Limited, to address us. And he is the co-author of the national bestseller, the book titled Entrepreneurship Simplified from Idea to IPO. Apart from that, his hobbies include trekking, outdoors, yoga, tai chi, meditation, and swimming. Rigveda says, Charanvai Madhuvindati, wandering one gathers honey. To Ashok Sutaji, please.
Thank you very much and good evening. Guruji, Dr. Manjunath, other members on the dais, and all the, I'm sure, very eager students of your university and many of the other very learned people present here. It always gives me a very great sense of peace when I visit S-VYASA, because you see in the atmosphere, I think, a huge commitment to improving basic lifestyles, harking back to our own ancient traditions, even while embracing all modern science, as we can see even in that research study which was just presented. And of course, I really must mention her just before the program started. It was really beautiful. very seldom, I don't know if those youngsters are, and including your Guruji, but who led the singing, it itself gave, and of course you were invoking Vivekanandji, and I really would love to applaud the children who gave that beautiful music. Manjunathji mentioned that, one of the purposes of SCAN is to bring the benefits of all the modern research really to the benefits of the common man much earlier than it would normally reach them. So much is going on, and you do need to know, because sometimes, particularly now, I would say, we've got an accelerated path to what we call as kinder, gentler therapies. On one side, that includes the development of cell-based therapies through modern science, but it also includes capturing the whole power of the mind, which is what S-VYASA is doing. So, and it's not only just yoga, it is mindfulness, it is meditation, and many other disciplines then brought together to improve your overall lifestyle. To take this forward even one further step, we've been talking about SCAN, but just on the 14th of July, just 2 days ago, we have launched Happiest Health, where Davis is the vice chairman and I'm the chairman. And that many of you will also make this one of the daily habits of logging onto it and reading our morning newsletter. So what is Happiest Health about? It really is capturing knowledge on all the problems which come up and really providing an integrated platform for giving information, and not just information, really knowledge to people on what could be done. It addresses everybody from 18 to 81, 80 plus onwards. It addresses the issues of parents concerned about their children. For example, our first morning letter had an article on concern about mobile phone addiction in young kids. And we received so many responses saying, hey, I think you were really addressing this to me when I read that. And that's the difference between what we hope to achieve in Happiest Health as compared to many of the other such things you see globally. In India, you don't have any such publications or any digital site like Happiest Health, but we will make this available to the globe and into India. Within India, we will introduce this in vernacular languages gradually during the course of the next few months. Now, one of the philosophies, if you ask me, behind Happiest Health also is, you can control to a certain extent, to a very large extent, I would say, human beings can control their wellness and their happiness. And in wellness, very often it is just the right lifestyles, the attitudes, and other things that you embrace as you go forward, the relationships that you build. In happiness, I believe it's, again, a very fundamental thing. Aristotle has said that the purpose of all human existence is happiness. And therefore, if you don't have happiness, even if you have success, what have you really achieved? And it is in that context, when we look at happiness, we believe that the major drivers for happiness, and again, one of the philosophies we've embraced all along in Happiest Minds is, it really comes from giving much more than you take. And then most importantly, it comes from an acknowledgement of gratitude every day for the blessings we have, for the friends we have, for the families we have, for the caring we receive, for all that God has really given us, for which we should be grateful. And this philosophy we want to take forward. Now coming down to health, you might say that you do control a very large extent by developing again these right attitudes, right approaches to life, your happiness and your wellness. But again, as Guruji pointed out, many of the issues on health may be genetic. And then what do you do about some of those when you happen to be the person who actually gets impacted by these? Well, one approach, of course, is that even the most some of the most severe genetic problems do lend themselves to management. So when you talked about diabetes, one way or the other, you are managing a problem in spite of what you may have been born with. So therefore, again, your attitude to wellness has an influence on your approach to managing that problem. However, there can be many other things which are not really that easily controllable. And it is here that I think, again, the power of the mind can play a hugely important part in reversing some of those issues. In that context, I'm reminded of the fact that right now, in a post COVID world, there's an enormous amount of anxiety and depression. In fact, just yesterday, in the evening, my friend Davis was listening to a video from where there was Sister Shivani of the Brahma Kumaris group. I'm sure many of you are familiar. I used to hear her every morning when she used to come on India Today, and maybe she still does. I've stopped watching television by and large because it's got so bad. But so she's very good. And what she was saying is that 1 out of 4 persons today is suffering from anxiety or depression. And this is, of course, talking of adults, but it's coming up at a younger and younger age. And she said, how can there be success? And how can we say the world has made progress when you have this situation? How can we say that we've got happiness if we are then so bowed down by the anxiety and depression? And then we begin to work towards that. Now, this is one area where I would say there are 3 or 4 basic approaches to addressing this issue. One is the traditional Western's what I call psychotherapy approach, where you get some medicines. But the other ones, which is really addressing the individual, improving lifestyle, maybe also employing other, other, let's say, less demanding approaches, whether it is homeopathy, naturopathy, and others, which can yield an enormous result. It's not that anything will ever completely solve a problem. You may improve and then go slide back a bit. And yet, you'll be on a path towards getting much, much better than taking. And today, I'm actually concerned at the extent of over medication that is taking place in this area, just as it has happened in painkillers, which led into an opioid sort of a crisis in America and so on. We've mentioned a lot about some of the projects we are doing with SCAN, and we're really happy about them. We sense the enthusiasm. It's not been very long since we've started. You've also got a long journey ahead. And like everything in India, well, maybe this is required. It is a long journey. By the time you'll define all your projects, then you have to get ethics committee clearances, then you start creating your cohorts, and then the results will start pouring in. But I'm sure they will, and we do look forward to those. I also wanted to mention, I think one of the largest projects that we've just recently launched at SCAN. And again, I think you mentioned that one of the biggest problems today is strokes. So if you look at the predictability of heart attacks and strokes, it's all based on a certain Western model, which I believe has very little applicability to India. So we have initiated a project which would last for 10 years, and we've created 3 groups. One is with Narayana Health. We're saying you go ahead and continue with your statin-based approach of recommendation. We have brought in TDU for the Ayurveda side, where they can focus on the Ayurveda approach. And we at SCAN will focus on literally lifestyle. We're not saying we're recommending anybody you don't have to take an Ayurveda program, neither do we want to put you onto statins. But you take your own individual decisions, and thereby you'll find, then we will of course measure those 3 results. And of course, it'll take some time. By the time we get all of the data, easily 10 years to get data which you could say is valid and scientifically proved. But we are looking forward to this study. We are looking forward to saying that there's a better way than getting on to taking medication at all times, which may have its own serious side effects. So with this, and I might also add, we'd be happy if we can get from your cohorts data which we can feed into the projects. And wonderful then just to be here as usual. Guruji, thank you for this opportunity to be with you all. And I continue to marvel at all the work you all are doing on so many frontiers and wish you all the very best of success in the years ahead.
I request one of the chief guests, Dr. Riya Karthikeyan, also to speak for a few minutes.
Namaskar. I think everything that has to be said has been said already. And I have nothing more to add, excepting that as President of Agicare India, Delhi, last 10 years, I am very much interested in the activities of SCAN. I would like to be associated because we lead a organization in Delhi. And I only like to quote because I've heard, I have not known about this organization or about the great contribution of Mr. Ashok Sutha and these organizations to say, I am, pardon my ignorance, but I recall the ancient, Tirukural, all texts have said that. I think it was also said by Swami Vivekananda, that is, only those who live for others live really. Others are as good as dead and gone. So I compliment all those who have made success in life and share their wealth with the others also, because it's not enough if I am happy. I must, body, mind and soul must be together. Then my family should be happy, my society should be happy. Everybody should be happy, otherwise, it's not worth living. And the society, the world is going towards self-destruction today. So apart from the health, body, mind, health, spirit health of individuals, we should care for the planet also and all that. As mentioned by both the Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, we're doing this second attack of the pandemic. I was told in Delhi by leading hospitals, sir, don't be in Delhi. Because there were queues in ambulances. People, prominent people, very well-to-do people, powerful people, they were all waiting in ambulances. I'm an advisor to the largest ambulance service in the world, a favorite of Mr. Narendra Modi also. And our people told me, normally our hospital, we are 50,000 ambulances are running in the country today. Our hospital, our ambulances are like mini hospitals, well equipped. But they were telling, we have oxygen for 5 hours. But then they are waiting in the hospital door, waiting for the beds. Oxygen got exhausted. People died in the ambulance vehicles at the door of the hospitals. So I was there in Coimbatore. I saw people recovering so fast with Siddha medicine, Ayurveda medicine, and IV ozone treatment. Miraculous treatments. So I wrote to the Honorable Prime Minister, sir, with your phenomenal memory, you know who I am. We can regain our lost glory, India, encouraging these systems. And all that I wrote to him. Thereafter, it was referred to the PMO, referred it to the Niti Ayog. I had a number of meetings with them, Health Minister, Ayush Minister, Member Health, Vinod Pal said, these are all the problems, but at least we are able to make a dent. Of course, Dr. Nagendra has been working on it for a long time. I said, why I'm interested? Because I don't want people to die uncared for. Everybody has to die, it's okay. But not only how many people can afford to hospitals. And I know of many people who went in, either they came back alive or the body came 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs, and many people could not get. I know of one of the, I don't want to mention the name, one of the prominent industry, he couldn't get it ultimately. So we had to go back to system. Sir, I wrote a letter called Integrated Medicine on my newsletter. I'll share it with you if I have your email ID. It went to top people in the World Bank. He shared it with about 12,000 people in America. And he gave me the response of hospitals. They said, yes, there's no way unless we go back to all of our traditional system, encourage them and all that. So I'm not telling alternate system. I said integrated medicine. Ayush, I'm prepared to say Ayush means allopathy, Ayurveda, I don't mind including it. But allow every system to exist because we have to, can't allow anybody to die without treatment. That will be a crime and a sin. And there are possibilities, long-term research has been going on S-VYASA. Dr. Nagendra has been done. So also, what Vinod Paul member was, we want only data. Data is there, and many people have gone on my suggestion. IB ozone, 5 days, 6 days treatment, 2 hours a day, 2,000 rupees only. They came back. None of them died of my knowledge. So it is high time, at least people are opening their mind all over the world now. There's a need for other systems also to be included. I'm so happy the research is being supported by good organizations like Mr. Ashok Sutha. Anyhow, we can talk about it for a long, long time. So thank you very much. I admire what is being done by you and S-VYASA and many such organizations also. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Karthikeyanji. Now I call upon Dr. Professor Subramaniam ji, the thinker, philosopher, and orator par excellence, to speak for a few minutes.
Om. I admire S-VYASA in general, Dr. H.R. Nagendra in particular, for certain things. Number one, yoga has been traditionally practiced in this country, but it is this university which has given an academic status to yoga practice. Point number one. Two, it is given a scientific base. This is the age of science. People question, and it has to be substantiated scientifically. And therefore, this Yoga Anusandhana Samsthana has given top priority to research. Scientifically, yoga is proved to be beneficial to everybody. Number three, how many unemployed youth in this country? After the advent of this particular university, we produced hundreds and thousands of postgraduate scholars and PhD fellows. They are all employed. You will be surprised. Some of the students are earning more than 5 to 6 lakhs a month. In Hyderabad, in every street, there is a person practicing yoga, self-employment. In Bangalore, in foreign countries, the major three good things. One is academic status. Number two is scientific base. Number three is employment to the many, many unemployed people. Next is, if not this university, who will take the initiative to give academic status to Vedic technology? It is confined to a few pandits, scholars, Sanskrit people in the villages. Now it is brought to the limelight. Vedic technology is going to be another wonderful field of excellent academic status. Tomorrow there will be courses, BSc Vedic technology, MSc Vedic technology, and there will be PhDs, and they will get wonderful employment opportunities. This initiative is taken by the Chancellor, and the university is going ahead. This is the second phase. 3, as Karthikeyanji has beautifully analyzed, people die, but they should not die without treatment. And people cannot afford to go to allopathy. Lakhs and lakhs of rupees. We might have seen in the corporate sector, during the period of Corona, many people paid lakhs of rupees and they suffered a lot. Integrative medicine. Ayurveda has better means of treatment. Naturopathy can prevent the diseases. Yoga can do wonderful work. All these things are to be brought together, integrative medicine. I am sure within another few years, every medical college will be giving a course in integrative medicine. And then almost all the people, our Prime Minister is very particular that there should be medical colleges doubled or tripled in this country. And all of them are going to have integrative medicine, and the credit goes to S-VYASA. Last but not the least, If not Nagendra ji, who can bring a person like Ashok ji to our campus? If not this university, who can bring a person like Karthikeyan ji? We cannot meet them. They are very busy people, great scholars. He has provided us with the advantage of seeing and meeting and interacting with people like Karthikeyan ji and people like Ashok ji. I am specially grateful. And in this Mahayajna, people are doing yeoman service, and one is our Pro Vice Chancellor, Manjunath ji, and the other is my friend, excellent colleague, Dr. Sridhar ji. Hari Om Tat Sat. I offer my pranams to everybody.
Thank you, Professor Subramaniam ji, for your kind remarks. There is an age-old adage and a statement in Sanskrit. Shateshu jayate shuraha, sahasreshu cha panditaha, vagmi shata sahasreshu, data bhavati vanava. Among 100 people, you can find a heroic person. Among 1,000 people, you can find a scholar. Among 10,000 people, you can find an orator par excellence. But among these 10,000 people, you will not find even a single donor. Thanks to Ashok Sutaji, who has come forward to support all our research activities, especially with respect to geriatric care, neurological disorders, strokes, and other things. Keeping in mind India 2040, there will be 2/3 of Indian population will be 60 plus. Keeping that vision in the mind, Sutaji has come forward to donate generously for our Anvesh research activities. On behalf of the S-VYASA Yoga Deemed to be University, we offer our Kritagnyata and gratitude and vote of thanks to him. I request all the dignitaries to join in felicitating Sri Ashok Sutaji, please. Thank you, Sri Ashok Sutaji. Thank you, Sri Ashok Sutaji. I request Sri Davis Karedan, the Managing Trustee of the Ashirvadam Trust and the Vice Chairman of the Happiest Health, having graced the occasion, and kindly please come and receive our humble felicitation, please. Thank you very much, Sri Davis Karedan, for your gracious presence. I immensely thank Sri D.R. Karthikeyanji, the eminent distinguished personality, and also Professor Subramaniam for gracing the occasion, to all the people who have assembled here for this official program of our S-VYASA Yoga University, and to all the supporting staff, the teaching and the non-teaching staff for having attended this function. We end up this program with Shanti Mantra. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Namaskar, Dhanyavad. We'll assemble after 10 minutes for the cultural program. And it will be, the cultural program is with, the Hindustani music by Ranapur and his team. Uma Maheshwar is going to lead that program, which will start in the next 10-15 minutes. Namaskar, Dhanyavad.